I was thinking actually to do this whole stream just about worldviews and systems approaches, because reflecting upon all the Roman Catholic inabilities in terms of getting why dogmatic contradictions would be a defeater for the worldview, and going back to, thinking about the Ibarra debate and these different debates with the Thomists over the years and this and that, I'm more and more I recognize that ultimately it's not an intellectual issue. It's spiritual, but in the intellectual domain, they don't understand. And there was a great guy that called in actually a few weeks ago who made this point. He was like, the Tradcats don't understand system level thinking. They think that you can just keep piling up like other arguments or other evidences, and if there's a contradiction, well, then you can reconcile it with a bunch of counterweighted evidences over here on this side. And you remember in the debate, Ibarra said something like that. He was like, look, if I can pile up a lot of papal evidences in history, isn't that possibly a proof or a case for the papacy in Vatican I? And it's like, even if you could do that, Eric, it wouldn't matter if there's a system level defeater. And I think at one point in the debate, he says something like, if you could show a contradiction in the dogmas, that would be a defeater. Well, what did we just hear Loft Dog say a minute ago that Cleve shared? Well, the very thing we're talking about, right? Lofton basically is saying, yeah, the magisterium. The magisterium.
Don't do this.
Yeah, the magisterium, dog. If they were saying don't do this, and now they say do this. Oh, so like the very argument that I made ever since I was a sedevacantist, mortalium animos. So let's hear this again.
If you have the magisterium in the past saying don't do this, and then the magisterium now saying do this, or the opposite, right? The magisterium saying in the past do this, now it's saying don't do this. Which one do you go with? There's some documents like Mortalium Animos from Pius XI, less than 100 years ago, where the Pope is saying you can't have ecumenical prayer meetings. And if you do that, anyone who does that has departed from the faith and doesn't believe the Catholic faith. And now, we have in the post-conciliar period these ecumenical prayer meetings all the time.
Oh, well, then I guess I could logically conclude that the papacy has magisterially departed from the faith. Ain't that true, dog? Ain't that true, Loft Dog? Well, guess what that would be? That would be a system-level defeater. If the magisterium contradicts, then the system contradicts. And I think this is the point that many of these people do not understand. If there's a systemic level contradiction, that's not the same thing as this bishop was a sinner, this priest over here was gay, this priest was a PDF. That's not a system level defeater, because they're not thinking of their religion as a system, even though it is. There's systematic theology. Protestants, Orthodox, Roman Catholics all have systematic theologies. That is a system level presentation of our beliefs. Divine revelation in the Roman Catholic position is all things contained in the tradition of the church, whether declared by extraordinary magisterium or taught forever in her universal ordinary magisterial teaching. That is divine revelation to the Roman Catholics according to Vatican I. That means that nothing in that body of doctrines, that body of magisterial teaching, can contradict. So what's one of the pat responses of the Roman Catholics? Oh, well, there's only a couple ex cathedra things that you actually have to believe. Totally not true. Totally made up. Total bullcrap position. They just say that because that that narrows actually the possibility of contradicting statements. So then when, as Lofton points out, Mortalium Animos in 1928 says that to have ecumenical prayer meetings with other, quote, Christians, we're not even talking about false religions, we're talking about with Christian groups, constitutes apostasy from the faith. Well, a couple decades later, 30 years later, we get Vatican II, the very opposite. Now the magisterium says we must do this. It's the work of the Holy Spirit. So you understand that they're admitting that the Holy Spirit is what inspired the magisterial teaching of Mortalium Animos. Now the Holy Spirit's changed his mind. You could do the opposite, post-Vatican II, Nostra Aetate, and Assisi meetings, etc. But how does it not contradict? Oh, well, I've narrowed what the dogmatic system actually is to a couple ex cathedra things. No, I'm sorry, that's not true. That's why Denzinger is called Sources of Catholic Dogma. And it's 750 pages, even up to Pius XII. It doesn't even include Vatican II. And guess what? Denzinger isn't the full extent of papal dogma, because it doesn't include Vatican II, and Vatican II is binding on all Catholics everywhere. You don't, when you go to Roman Catholic Church, a Novus Ordo church, they don't say, here's the catechism, you don't have to believe all the Vatican II parts, that's optional. It's total lies. It's just total coping insanity bullshit when all the Roman Catholics who start to get into the document say, well, I don't have to believe Vatican II. It's optional. It's a pastoral council. There's nothing about the word pastoral council that says it's not dogmatic. Oh, but Paul VI said he wasn't declaring new dogmas. That doesn't mean it's not dogma. It just means he's not declaring new dogmas. It's bound for the entire church with full apostolic authority from the papal see in every one of the documents. All 16 Vatican II documents have the same authority behind them. It's in your catechism, cited many times over. So where did you come up with this made-up position that you don't have to accept it? In fact, Francis and many post-Vatican II popes have reaffirmed that you have to accept Vatican II. Francis said the magisterial reforms of Vatican II, the worst part of it with the Novus Ordo Missae, he says is absolutely binding and unchangeable magisterium. So now you're going to have to reject Francis to make the system work. So even though you try all you want to narrow the scope to make the system work, you're going to be where Lofton's at, admitting, okay, magisterium is contradicting itself. You can either have these prayer meetings or you can't. And how can they be apostasy in 1928, but the work of the Holy Spirit in 1970? But you got a bad patriarch. Yeah, but a bad patriarch is not a system level defeater, you dummies. How many times do we have to tell you this? If I thought Bartholomew was a pope, if I thought he had the same position as Vatican I, that might be a good argument. But it's our position that says all the patriarchs can be heretics. And every one of them has, I think, at some point in history, had a schism or a heresy. All of them. The EP, Rome, Antioch, Alexandria, they've all had schisms and heresies. There's no magical promise to the one in Rome, especially given the fact that the epistle to the Romans warns the Roman church about being grafted out.
Oh, that's only talking to the individuals. It's not talking to the Bishop of Rome.
Dude, what more do you need to see than your church is having like Skittles butt stuff ceremonies? Well, you had a patriarch who went to a gay thing. Yeah, but that's not a system level defeater. And I'm not even saying that the gay thing is a system level defeater, because the morals, the only way it's a system level defeater is the fact that in Francis's encyclical, he says you can bless the gay couples, not marriage, the couples. But he says in that you can't have gay marriage. So what? I'm not arguing that it's about gay marriage. It's opening the door for gay marriage, just like the study that they're going to do. The Roman bishops in Italy have said, let's do a study on deaconesses. And everybody in the Orthodox Church knows that the push for deaconesses is the preparatory stage for female priests. We know this story. We know where it goes.